Greetings, everybody, on this amazing eve of the 5th of December. Another huge, huge portal day. It's known as the threshold of winter. Yeah, the threshold into the winter time. So we're portaling again, and it's also the day of St. Nicholas, which we will unpack a little. Yeah, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's just wait and see who pops in. I know it's Friday and I'm not doing my lunchtime slot as I usually do for you guys. I've shifted it a little bit later. I've been pumping the whole day since like 5:55. No, since earlier, but that's okay, non-stop. So many things. Amir, my beautiful, welcome. You get super duper first love. Welcome, beautiful goddess. I said it's like a huge, huge, huge portal day again. They just, yeah, the 5th of December for, it is the day of St. Nicholas, which we'll get into quickly just now. I'm in Germany, so it's really very big in Germany. I'm not sure where else. Maybe it's in other places in Europe. I really don't know. I just kind of go from my childhood and where I was. I grew up in South Africa, but my father was German. Hello, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful one. I hope your back is feeling better. Please be breathing energy up and down, just healing energy up and down your back. I'm good. It's been just like I just keep hearing, just stay grounded, stay grounded. There's just so much energy. Oh, Chloe, I am working and got in my hand. I shall carry it in the bra I don't wear. This beautiful gift that I got from you, and it's even more special because it's citrine. As I said earlier on, yeah, when I was in South Africa, I had a very beautiful a citrine ring, like seriously beautiful quality, which I'd got from Alex's other grandmother. I knew it was, but then I swallowed it. So I hope it's still there so that nobody could like bother about it. So I kept it with me. So it's not recommended. It's not recommended. Just for me today. And as I say, please never ever wish that you had even half of my life because you really don't want it. For today, a few things that I carry. And I just feel there's even more, but let's just, it's my mother's 92nd birthday. It's also Mozart's birthday, no, death day. It's St. Nicholas. What else do I carry today? Just for today. Just for today. It's a very tragic story about my mother. And St. Nicholas, so that brings up like a whole lot of childhood stuff for me. And my father and all of that. And it was also the day that my son was conceived. So I do know that. And like, I didn't know that at the time, but there was this dog outside. It was in the middle of the morning darkness, like after midnight. And it was chunk, 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 chunk. And it was like the sun was shining outside in the middle of the night. And somebody had thrown this little dog off the back of a truck. So and I called him. I just said, "Oh, my Solantis, my Solantis." But anyway, we'll talk about maybe Alex another day, but not now. So what else do I hold? So it's a lot of, but besides the things that we're working with and that I'm holding, I'm just feeling, be grounded. So not the easiest thing today. Oh. So yeah, I'm so excited. Christmas is exciting. So I'm glad that there is this like incredible expectancy. There's so much energy pouring on the planet at this Christmas time. So this is Barbie, but we'll get into Barbie just now. So as I say, there's so much happening today, St. Nicholas, and I do want to unpack my version, the real story of Barbie. This is my Barbie. This is seriously my Barbie. This was her. I love, if you know the right questions. It was the best dress I had for her. So I do have one of the few. When I came to Germany this time, I only brought 2 suitcases with me, and she's in the cellar. So Barbie is in the cellar. So why I hold that? My real full name is Barbara Christa Maurer. The Christa is complicated. I never told anybody my second name. I really didn't want anybody to know that name. So I obviously hold Barbie doll. But no, I wasn't the Barbie doll. And the Christa, when I went to America, I changed my name. It used to be Smith. And with my son, he couldn't take the Smith name, so he took my last born. He took my maiden name, which is Maurer, so I changed my name back to Maurer, which was fine because all my German papers were still in Maurer. I know, she's stunning, isn't she? She's my best. But yeah, we'll talk about her. I mean, I have a different way of playing with Barbie. I was born in 1961. So those are just a few things that I hold. The Berlin Wall went up in 1961. Apartheid became a law in 1961. And did you have a similar one? Oh no, interesting. Oh wow, that's so interesting. Oh, a Smith to a Smith. That's what I always used to say. A Smith is as good as a smile. No, not a Miss is as good as a smile. And sometimes when we're choosing the numbers, and it's like, 777 is not like 666 or 888. One up, it's a miss, guys. That's really a miss is as good as a mile. 111, awesome. I don't know what time, everybody has different times. Yeah, I loved the name Smith when I got married because I thought, eventually I don't have to spell it, because in South Africa they call it Mora, which is horrible. And now you're Chloe Jane Mills. I love that. And interesting, you can't change your name in Germany. They're not interested, they won't. You have to, if you're married, you have to write this whole long letter to ask if you can use your husband's name. And that goes via Holland, Den Haag. So I never changed my name to the Germans. So I had all the stuff still in the name of Maurer, because as far as they're concerned, I was never married, because they have different laws here. They very seldom do women take their husband's names, or they join it. It's quite a big thing. Marriage. We'll talk about marriage in Germany one day and how it's done here. It's very interesting as well. I mean, in a way, it makes sense. They don't get married in church. That means nothing. Millie, just for you. But hello to you all. I'm not going to do the Barbie right now. She's coming up just now. This is just for you, Millie. I'm going to just dip into St. Nicholas, because it is a big threshold day. How are you doing, my love? Energies are beyond. So just be grounded however you need to be. Oh, thank you, my love. No, when I went to America, I worked with the numerology, and when I came back, I changed it to crystal, because I said crystal was way too difficult to work with on the planet. So I put an L on it like a foot. And I said that was much easier. And I don't know, with lots of things. I mean, I came back with so much stuff from America. And be safe, my love. Please be very, very, very safe. I actually lost my phone today. It was so weird. But then I found it again. And I actually thought, I can't worry about it now. I did a pendulum to find out where it was. And it was so interesting, because I don't do that. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. The universe really wants me off the phone this weekend, which it's really bad, the phone stuff. So be very careful what you're doing with your phone. But I might still take it. But I do have it. She arrived with it. Yay, I got my phone. Yeah. So yeah, I changed my name to Chris, and it was so interesting. Only when I changed back to Maura, um, I realized, like you have a blacksmith and and a silversmith, and I'm like, oh, boo, you're a crystal smith. So yeah, now I was the darling of the crystal world in South Africa and in Tucson. A lot of people in Tucson. I was very lucky enough to go to the Tucson show and work there. Oh, it's like total mind fuck. But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. And yeah, I worked with my like mantra was everybody needs to get stoned. Yeah. I used to buy kids presents like Adam got Adamite, and of course I had Smithsonite. Yeah, but you know what? I had to like spell Smith more because I think just my aura or whatever. So is that Smythe? No, SMITH, guys, just simple. So yeah, I have this like all legal, this amazing like wad of different documents and different names. So anyway, let us just bring in a little sacredness right now. So we get that out the way. Well, because today is St. Nicholas. So this is very much my childhood. I was just actually thinking now, I think my Oma must have sent her to us from Germany because I'm not sure that we got them in South Africa. I got this one and my sister got the darker haired, slightly darker haired one. And anyway, I can tell you a lot about Barbie. I had both of them and I actually gave the one to a very dear friend of my daughter's when she went to teach English in Taiwan or Taiwan, yeah. And she gave it to her boyfriend over there. So if you do have an old Barbie doll, you must sell it to the Chinese. But well, maybe one day we'll talk about how they like all this stuff. Not the Chinese, the Japanese. Huge, huge, huge collectors. They'll pay big dollar for her. She's worth big dollar. My Barbie. So yeah, so I hold her dear. As I said, Millie, my full name is Barbara Krista Maurer. That's my birth name. And Krista, I only adopted kind of actually when I moved to Germany because it was easier to work with Krista after Crystal because I still like I don't answer to Krista and I don't answer to Barbara anymore because I worked with Crystal for many, many years. And yeah, she did good stuff for me. I like Crystal. Crystal Magic Wishing Fairy. But yeah, she's somewhere else. Okay, so where do we start? At the end. The beautiful plastic goddess. Lots to unpack with her today. But let's just go into good old St. Nicholas. Ta-da! And as I do remember a lot of things because a lot of things vibrate to birthdays of dear people. There's not that much in my life that I don't remember. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to say I'm wrong. So St. Nicholas, where am I? Do I know where I am? Most probably not. Whee! All the way down here. Whee! So for me, St. Nicholas Day, we've always put slippers. I don't know if I remember slippers outside the door, outside our door. So that's what they do in Germany. They put their shoes. St. Nicholas. Oh, okay. And it was like, as I said, my father was like crazy, like more of a anyway, whatever. So it's Nicholas Abend, and we would have to put our slippers outside our bedroom door, and we'd have to write a letter to St. Nicholas, and why we should, and to apologize if we had been like naughty. And the next morning, we didn't get all the things that the kids usually get here. We didn't get the stuff, but there was chocolates in South Africa called Superfine. and they would kind of share them. We'd get these, they were beautiful, and they would put with nuts and yummy chocolate, and they would put superfine in our shoes. And I think that's really all that we got. I don't remember getting toys. And if you were naughty, you got a stick. And yeah, my sister got a stick one year. It says my father had we had two nicknames. I was Pinky and my sister was Bully. So as I say, and I've also written a really intense letter to my sister tonight. So, but that we'll go into maybe another day. So the night, and okay, so it was like really important for us, and obviously that day had been my mother's birthday, so we always put that. I'm trying to remember. No, I think we wrote in English, and I can remember dictating letters because I couldn't write. I was small. So in Germany, St. Nicholas, Christmas is not such, it's huge, but they don't do big Christmas present. They do really more. Now it's become like putting your shoe outside, and it's boots. Whoops, where's the boots? Got the boots. Bloops, bloops, bloops. Yeah. So that's what it looks like in the morning. You polish your boots, which is very, very symbolic. And it's very symbolic to get oranges and tangerines. And they do now, and chocolate. And they do now today, they give a present for St. Nicholas. So it's like a CD or a game or something. It's not nothing huge, but it's kind of become more. And St. Nicholas goes all over the place in Germany. And if you want anything from him, you have to like sing or dance or act. And then he will dip into his bag. And now they give chocolates and oranges. So the story of St. Nicholas is also, I mean, it's all this weird stuff that people do. Grace, hello, my love. Oh, you grounded. You knew about the boots, yeah. And just remember, it's the portal. It's a big portal tonight, and it's not and there are millions of Germans all over the world celebrating Saint Nicholas. And I don't know what Grace did. Maybe one day she'll come and tell us if they did it as well. I don't know the Italian Christmas celebrations, because even though she was in Australia and confused like me, she still had very strong Italian heritage. So I'm sure Grace did a lot of Italian stuff and food and celebrations and kind of mixed up, and they did their own thing. So yeah, as I said, here they have to sing and dance, and they are, I mean, you can go anywhere, they'll give you chocolate. You know, if they have at St. Nicholas, there is so much chocolate, you know, that they give out. I mean, the Germans eat like, I'm surprised that more don't have diabetes. They do. I think it's like, I've read it's the second or the third country that eats the most sugar. And they work that out as a percentage per year. And if you remember, I said like once upon a time, it was what was it? 1.8 kilos a year. And now it's like 1.8 kilos every 2 weeks that we eat. It's wild. But anyway, that's the sugar story. So they go around everywhere, wherever there's like a group. Like I know that they did a thing when my son was doing swimming, because they swim in winter here. It's indoor, and they play football in winter too, because of crazy things, but different to other countries. But swimming is big in winter here. So I remember they had a big St. Nicholas came round to the swimming bath and gave tons of chocolate, and everybody was singing and dancing and doing whatever they could for chocolate. I went to a Christmas party the other day, and they had to do karaoke for St. Nicholas chocolate. And I did get St. Nicholas chocolate today from somebody. So this is how he kind of dresses up. So you can see the mitre and all of that stuff. And that's the best part. When I first came to Germany in 2010, I used to put chocolate outside everybody's house, because I just thought it, especially the adults, it was kind of sweet. you know. So I like the chocolate. No, who should we put up? Said Nicholas. Nah, they want there. Sorry. And often he's in green as well. He's not just in red. Mm. Mm. Okay, so St. Nicholas night is the threshold night, and children place polished boots, symbolic of readiness, outside their door or on the windowsill, hoping Nicholas will fill it with nuts, oranges, apples, chocolates, or a small toy. Cleaning the boot is very symbolic. It's like preparing, and just use it as for ourselves as the sacred woman, the womb. We're cleaning our vessels constantly this month. The energies are super fabulous. So it's making yourselves worthy to receive. This is a ritual of purification before blessings may enter. The ancient giver of justice, he is not Santa Claus at all, not Santa Claus at all. He is not the Coca-Cola spirit of consumption. I did mention that he was came. I think I'm not sure of the date, but I think it was in the 20s because they weren't selling Coca-Cola in winter because it was cold and refreshing. So they brought in the jolly ho 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 to sell Coca-Cola, which worked. But Saint Nicholas is a protector of the poor, a bringer of justice, a bishop of Myra, which is in Turkey, a defender of children, sailors, and the oppressed, a winter mediator between karma and mercy. In essence, Nikolaus brings reward, while his shadow counterpart brings reckoning. The duality is deeply very old European. The original there was I didn't know about these, but I know that there's been a lot of like stuff about it, which was Knecht Rupert or Krampus, or what do they call him, Schwarze Peter. There's a lot because he comes along with a little black boy, and there's like a whole lot of like politically correct stuff going on. Schwarze Peter is very big in Holland, and people do blackface. They really celebrate Schwarz, and they call it more Schwarze Peter now today. So there's a lot of like stuff about that at the moment, but yeah, you read between the lines. Before commercial culture softened things, Nicholas did not walk alone. He came with Knecht Ruprecht, which is in North Germany. But I'm not from North Germany. Krampus or Pechten, we just had St. Nicholas. Those are from the Alpine regions, or Schwarze Peter in some areas. These figures represent the shadow, the wild masculine, the uncivilized forces of winter, the confrontation with one's misdeeds. Okay. Children were asked, Bist du auch artig gewesen? Were you well behaved? This is not moral policing, it is ritualized encounter with shadow and accountability. Nicholas is the light and Rimpus Krampus, Schwarze Peter is the dark. And together they bring initiation. So remember, I said it is a huge portal day. It's known as the threshold, the opening of winter. In some villages, children were even asked to recite a poem or prayer symbolic of voice and truth. That I don't know. White boots, nuts, mandarins, and apples. These are not random nuts, wisdom. They look like brains. They were like, yeah, those, and they're all good for your brain. Walnuts. Mandarins, oranges, which is solar light in the darkest time. Apples, which is the life force of fertility. Germany has over 1,500 varieties of apples. Chocolate, the sweetening of fate. Every item is a blessing. Germany remembers this symbolically, giving children the strength and light needed to pass through winter. Doing a lot of these rituals help us work with that big shadow. Yeah, people are quite different here. St. Nicholas is pre-Christian winter guardian. I don't know if they go into this. Before Christmas, this date was linked with the Wotan Odin midwinter wanderer, the protector of the hearth and the overseer of the wild hunt. St. Nicholas absorbed this role as protector, watcher, judge of the living, rewarder of virtue, guide through the dark months. This is why he still appears in robes, the bishop, rather than in red center suit. He is a ritual figure, not a commercial one. And he was actually the bishop of Mana, which is in Turkey, and he did go around giving oranges and little toys to poor orphan children. And apparently he was also like crucified upside down or something. The psychological meaning today, Nikolausnacht invites self-reflection. So we're doing this over and over and over this month. Enjoy, guys. Karmic cleansing, generosity, remembrance of inner light, gratitude, restoration of innocence. It is the child within us who meets Nicholas. Children polish the boots, but adults feel the symbolism. Tonight you may feel the soft winter gate opening. So we can just do a very short blessing to the winter threshold for this night of December the 5th. Beloved, you can call it what you like, St. Nicholas, Odin, whatever, wanderer of the winter night, bearer of light and justice, protector of children and keeper of hearts, we call upon you now. Step across the quiet evening, walk through the snow-softened air, and enter this home with your gentle strength. Bless this night with your ancient kindness, and bless this heart with your steadfast care. Bless this house with your peace and presence. May every shadow be softened by your lantern. May every fear be eased by your wisdom. May every burden be lifted by your compassion. As you once carried gifts to the forgotten, carry to us tonight the gift of courage, the gift of clarity, the gift of tenderness, the gift of protection, the gift of renewed hope. Let the polished boots at the door be symbolic of our openness to receive our blessings. Let the fruits, nuts, and sweets anchor the ancient promises that even in the darkest season light is returning and goodness is near. Saint Nicholas, guardian of the small and the weary, bless every child in this world tonight. And bless the child still living within each of us. Walk with us through this winter. Guide our steps, strengthen our hearts, keep our homes in peace. And as you pass through our doorway tonight, leave behind a little miracle, seen or unseen, to remind us that kindness remains the strongest power in the world. Bless us, Saint Nicholas, bless this night, bless all who dwell here in goodness, justice, and love. Amen, amen, and amen. Interesting today, yeah, I didn't realize that I was blessing all the children, specific children. Yeah. I might go through some of the art that I've done over the weekend. Hopefully I'm going to take a little break. It's been a very, very, very busy day. Well, it's been a busy week. So much stuff to unpack. Well, okay, so let us get on to, let's breathe. Let's breathe. Oh, wait, I wanted to breathe further down here. I will do that just now. Okay, so Grace, what did you do? Did you do something at this time? Oh, sorry, Millie. Oh, okay, Grace was in a tray. Okay, 1, 2, 3, yum. Yeah, so eat chocolate tonight. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's and they're really sweet, especially to children. Celebrated. Yeah, but you ate different stuff, hey? But on the eve of the 5th, okay, you do that one to the 6th of January. That's a big one. Oh, okay. It's the day of the Three Wise Kings, and a lot of the Orthodox religions celebrate Christmas on the 6th of January. She goes visiting good children with candies, sweets. The naughty get coal or rocks. But you've done the Christmas. But you eat pork, hey? Hey, mister, you missed the St. Nicholas stuff, so you'll have to watch that because I've finished with that for now. We're now moving into plastic land. So also for a couple of reasons. As I said, my name is Barbara Christamara, and Barbara was my name. We had a lot of fights about that. So Barbie. So I do hold her quite dear. And my father was in the plastic industry when it first started. But as he kind of got further into it and read more and more, we had less and less plastic at home. And we definitely we didn't eat out of plastic because of the emissions. So, yeah, so he knew a lot about plastic. Out at the shops. Oh, cool. You'll have to watch later. But, yeah, cats, this is now Barbie doll stuff and G.I. Joe, because it all kind of comes into it. So, as a child, where's my Barbie? Where's my Barbie? Where's my Barbie? Come on, Barbie, where are you? Show yourself, my love. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. This is the Barbie that I got, okay? And I just thinking about it now, I think that she could have been sent to me from Germany because I don't know. Oh, and I had those clothes. I had that one. And that was obviously that one. And I think I had that one, and I must have had that. And then my mother sewed. So Barbie for me, it was very interesting because I didn't get into the whole American like thing of Barbie. She was my Oma sent us these parcels like twice a year for Easter and they lived in Germany. My father was in South Africa, and it was a good 5 years before they actually came here, came to Johannesburg to see him. So he didn't see them for a long time, yeah. And then it was even longer before he went over. I think he only went over in the 70s to see his parents. Yeah? But we would get these amazing parcels twice a year, which just smelled like Germany for me, which was like Lebkuchen and spice and all things wonderful and nice and that fabulous German smell. And they were obviously packed full of chocolates for Easter and for Christmas and little gifts and aprons and sauce and spices and all sorts of interesting things, and always like very tenderly chosen things for my sister and I, or duvets, or bademantel's, or tracksuits, or things that were popular in Germany that were practical, good German practicality. So my childhood memories of Barbie, I don't remember my sister playing with Barbie. I don't remember playing with my sister very much. Sometimes, no. But that's another story. She beat me up. She beat me up badly, like badly. And I'd like block a lot of that out. But I do have like a photographic memory for pretty much everything from very, very, very young, like before I was a year. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. But we didn't get that in South Africa. We had, what was it called? Mikado. That was the metal stuff. But she sent the first Lego. Lego used to be a wooden factory, but then it burned down, and then they started making this plastic stuff. Amazing bricks, and they were only in red and blue and white, and you got windows. And I think you got a green thing. I could be wrong. We didn't have all the flowers and all that stuff. But I used to make furniture for my Barbie doll. That was like my big thing. I loved like building stuff. It's the surname. Maurer means builder or mason. So I hold the Freemasons also. Die Freimaurer, not the Freemasons. Those I hold very, very strongly. And obviously the Berlin Wall and all sorts of crazy stuff. So And when I was small, we used to play with we stayed in flats, in buildings, apartments, and downstairs, not huge ones, but downstairs they were Scottish. That was where we originally knew them from, and they moved then. And that was Ian and Eric. They were two young boys, and they would always tell me to bring my Barbie doll with me because they had GI Joe. So we would play Barbie and GI Joe. Okay, they had GI Joe, which was also a very interesting story with GI Joe because they were boys. Okay, and I know when she moved, my mother used to meet her every Saturday morning. We would go. The kids would go to the bioscope across the road for 5 cents. I didn't. I was still little, and we would eat the most divine hamburgers from Wimpy, which they did these amazing hamburgers that my mother made for hamburgers and tea. And I remember being quite little, and I was just have to just say this because it was just so beautiful how and it's so strong. I remember. What was the name? Oh, it doesn't matter. Can't remember off now. Um, We're telling my mother that she was pregnant again. She had Ian and Eric, and now she was pregnant again with another auntie. I can't remember her name. And I remember just like looking at her like an angel because I don't know where that came in my life because I had no religious upbringing, but I just thought the angels brought babies. You were blessed by God to be pregnant and to have a baby. And she was just the most sacred being that I could imagine because now she was pregnant. I was very little. So those are my memories of Barbie. And I would play, and Barbie was wonderful. So because when she came, the idea for me of Barbie doll was that she was the career woman and she would what was I saying? Oh yeah, she was the career woman and we could dress her up as career people. Okay. Because women were also starting to go out into the marketplace, so it was wonderful. So nursing and yeah. So the story of Barbie, as I am correct, I might have been correct, a little bit wrong though. Um, so for those that are interested in I love it. You're absolutely right. And I just find it so interesting. It's about knowing to write the right questions because we've had a few things that people say Barbie was made in America. Yes, Barbie was an invent. No, she wasn't. Okay. I'm slightly wrong with it. That she was a little bit later than post-war Germany. She was created in the 50s. So this is not Barbie. Ta-da! That is not Barbie. That is a little lady called Lily, Lilli, and she was created from a news. It looks like Barbie. Hey? She was created from the newspaper or the magazine called Die Bild, and she was like a. Let's see, yeah, there she is. She was created first as a cartoon, and she was like a high class escort. And she was kind of quite raunchy. And then they created her as a doll, as a dress-up doll, and she was sold in bars. Okay, so this, and she does look almost identical to Barbie, the first Barbie. Mine is the second Barbie. She came out in 1964. I was born in 61. Okay. So before Barbie, we had Ruth Handler's idea, which I mean, it's all good, but just sometimes the truth is it's interesting. Do with it what you like. Barbie's official creator, Ruth Handler, co-founder of Mattel with her husband Elliot in the early 1950s. She watched her daughter Barbara play with paper dolls. I also love paper dolls, giving them adult roles, college student, career woman, etc. Ruth noticed There weren't any three-dimensional adult dolls for children, only baby dolls. She began dreaming of a grown-up fashion doll for girls. But Mattel's designers and executives were very skeptical. They thought mothers wouldn't buy a doll with an adult woman's body. So the idea simmered in Ruth's mind until a certain German lady appeared. Enter Bild Lilly, the German ancestor. After World War II, the tabloid the Bild Zeitung launched in 1952. They needed a last-minute comic strip, and artist Reinhard Bertien created a sexy, sharp-tongued blonde named Lily, a city girl with attitude who flirted, dated rich men, and made witty, risque comments about sex, money, and independence. Lily quickly became very popular, and in 1955, Bild licensed her as a doll, manufactured by Greiner und Hauser in West Germany under the name Bild Lily. Key points about Bild Lily. She was sold first as an adult novelty gag gift, mainly to men. You bought her in tobacconists, kiosks, and bars, definitely not in children's toy stores. Ads described her as the star of every bar and suggested young men give a lily doll to their girlfriends instead of flowers. She embodied a post-war fantasy woman, glamorous, independent, a bit of a gold digger, often described in modern commentary as a call girl or high-class escort type figure. Only later did she gradually become a children's toy. German companies then started making doll houses and furniture to match her scale. So she was originally made for adult men, and they were it was fun, depressed, but all that 1952, my father, and there was such an influx of people into South Africa. Whoever could leave Europe left because it was like just like recuperating, and it wasn't easy. It was not easy. And then they had the war. And my experience of Berlin is if you get over the Jewish question, and then you're lucky, then you have to get over the Russian question and the war that was even more the Stasi. They were called the Stasi party. So life was a little rough. So this is Lily. This is Lily from the Bild. And as I said, remember, she was bought soft porn. Okay. But she's just so much the good. This is the German girl of the 50s with that like very, very strung back blonde hair, thin eyebrows. But yeah, okay. And then there's even like the made in Hong Kong versions that let us not forget the made in Hong Kong virgin of Lily. Oh, Lily. She's a big collectible if you can get her. Yeah. Actually, we can go on to these because you can see. This is Lily on the left, and this is the Barbie on the right. Lily also had this like iconic, so she became iconic. So there's very little that was changed. But that's not Barbie on the left. That's unsere deutsche Lily, Lily Marlene. In 1956, Ruth Handler visited Europe. In a shop window in Hamburg, she saw the Bild Lily doll and immediately recognized that this is the exact form I've been waiting for. Three-dimensional adult-bodied doll. She bought several Lily dolls, brought them back to California, and used them as physical references for Mattel's designers. Early Barbie, 1959. She was made differently. The plastic they used. Okay, and remember, this was the great new plastics fantastic era. Okay, and early Barbie came out in 1959. Clearly a clone of Lily. Not even just or direct clone. Similar body proportions, And the stance, I mean, the whole legs, everything. Her side glancing eyes and arched eyebrows, high ponytail, and bangs. But Ruth changed the context completely. Barbie was made of vinyl instead of polystyrene. Oh, here we go. She had rooted hair, not a wig cap, and separate shoes and earrings. Crucially, she was marketed to girls, not men. I actually have the first Barbie ad, which is a little, I'll maybe post it. It's a little bit weird, just interesting. Crucially, she was marketed to girls, not men. Mattel introduced Barbie at the American Toy Fair in New York in March 1959, selling her as a teenage fashion model with that iconic black and white striped swimsuit. In 1964, Mattel bought the patents and rights to build Lily, and production of the German doll stopped. From then on, Barbie fully took over the lineage. So they bought all the rights and patents and everything. So Lily had to go off the market. It's like another good Jewish company that took stuff away from their German friends. Was Barbie copied from Lily? From a historical legal perspective, there is a strong visual, it's like a clone, and structural similarity. And Mattel's later purchase of Lily's rights is a quiet admission of how much they borrowed. Toy historians generally agree that Barbie was directly inspired and modeled on Built Lily. From a cultural mythical perspective, Lily was a post-war adult male fantasy, flirty, sarcastic, living in the smoke of bars and the rubble to glamour transition from the 1950s West Germany, which was needed serious reconstruction. And remember, as I said, almost every woman had been raped by the Russians. Barbie, repurposed as a tool for girlhood imagination, careers, fashion, independence, aspiration, though layered with consumerism and impossible body standards. Well, they didn't really see it like that, I don't think, in those days. So, a doll birthed out of the psyche of post war Germany. She was then alchemized by a Jewish American businesswoman into a global girlhood icon. There, and there's a lot there about trauma, fantasy, reconstruction, and the rewiring of desire there, and of course, the whole stamp on almost the global stamp of feminism, of the goddess, the woman. Um, in the beginning, the documented marketing language talks about gag gifts for men, art novelties, sexy fun, very risque. Um, you know, bar talk, bar glitter. But symbolically, in a shattered society, there were many men who were traumatized and dislocated after the war. So, yeah, it was a tiny, controllable feminine figure to dress, pose, and joke about. A light, playful counter image to rubble, guilt, and loss. The women were working very, very hard in Germany. They, the older generation, slightly than Lily. They were really working hard and growing things in the marketplace to feed it was like horrid. Historians tend to stay with the novelty sex symbol doll for adult men. So that was what she was. So briefly, in 1952, there was the comic strip. 1955, they launched in West Germany. Remember, now we had. Well, it wasn't West Germany yet. I only hope it happened in 1960. Well, it was, but the wall went up in 61, literally overnight, in West Germany as an adult novelty. And in 1956, Ruth Handler sees Lily in Europe and brings the doll back to the United States. In 1959, the first Barbie released by Mattel. In 1964, Mattel buys all the Built Lily rights and German production stops. So for me, and I didn't I would notice because I used to teach English here. So when whoops I would just throw in some weird things into with young children, yeah, and I would like say, "This is Barbie." I take my Barbie. This is Barbie, and this is Marilyn. Um, where are my pictures? Oh, here they are. Oops. Oh, I made her super big. Why did I do that? Oops. I don't know why we got her so super big. So here was the original Barbie that was sold in America. I mean, she's really beautiful, but she is a very, very direct copy. So then, of course, we had Marilyn the bombshell. So for me, this later on in my life, I saw her very much like based on Marilyn as such, that Marilyn with those dreamy, droopy eyes. And my mother, the parents, actually, I don't know in America, I was just like lucky enough not to be in America. But my mother made, there were patterns and she knitted jerseys. She made beautiful clothes. My mother sewed. So she made the most beautiful wardrobes for Millie. Hello, Millie. Are you there? For Barbie. Okay. Let's just see where I'm going. But how she's actually influenced society. Sorry, is this too hectic for people? So as I said, that was the Barbie I had. And the clothes were amazing. Like they were lined and they had little zips, like the teeny weeniest little zips. They were absolutely amazing. That was the Barbie pack. And what was it? These go for a fortune, the unopened Barbie packs, which I did have at one stage. She didn't do well with brunette. These were just some of the clothes, and the shoes obviously were fabulous. Sorry, these are not, they're not very big, but the clothing was absolutely wonderful. Pajamas and all the West Clan came with these little bits and pieces. The shoes were, and I think I had this one with the Barbie pots and pans, Barbie in the kitchen, she really influenced hugely. And these were patterns. My mother had patterns. They sold patterns that you could buy, and so many mothers made Barbie doll clothes. My mother knitted so many beautiful jerseys. And there's just a lot of that particular Barbie, and of course the ponytail Barbie. That was marketed to children, which is just, I mean, it's fun. I love my Barbie, and she did a great thing for me. I had the nurse. She was career woman, big time career woman. And yeah, I think in the States as well, women were starting to go out to work. So Barbie was great. So, I mean, this Ruth Handler was like, I mean, the timing was right. Yeah, women really needed, they needed a Barbie doll for their kids because otherwise not everybody was paying baby, baby, baby. But the first adverts, I never had a wedding dress. I always wanted a wedding dress for Barbie. I remember I got a whole suitcase of some older girls' Barbie stuff. I was like, oh. But my mother made maze with so many of her clothes. Okay. Even though Mattel never officially stated this is Marilyn Monroe, the genealogy is unmistakable. Why Marilyn? Because, of course, in the late 90s, and Marilyn was like, they all were, but Marilyn was really plastic and made. I adore Marilyn. She's one of my hugest icons. She was such an amazing. Apparently, she had an IQ higher than Einstein. But that is anyway. She was quite an amazing woman. She started her own company. She managed herself. Yeah. But she was remodeled hugely. Plastic surgery, very much by Andy Warhol as a marketing thing. She was a very interesting woman. I mean, she used it hugely, and she knew she could. So, because in the 1950s, Marilyn Monroe was the global symbol of beauty. America was exporting the dream girl as part of its post-war cultural dominance. Hollywood glamour had become a kind of ideological weapon, a fantasy for abundance, light, and desire in a weak world still traumatized from World War II. So Ruth Handler and Mattel's designers created Barbie as a child's access point to the adult world of possibilities, glamour, aspiration, and womanhood. In essence, Barbie equals the sanitized Marilyn Monroe without the tragedy. So this the 1964 Barbie, they call her the bubble cut, that she had half moon eyebrows, that tight little pursed upper lip, the cheek structure, the tightly sleepy bedroom eyes, the beautiful boobs, the high glance exactly like Marilyn's publicity shots, the bright red lips, the pale luminous skin tone, and the platinum hair option. Um, so Barbie as the tamed Marilyn. Barbie Monroe, Marilyn Monroe embodied sacred sensual power, tragic vulnerability, a wounded feminine intelligence, a mystical radiance underneath a controlled Hollywood persona. She was too powerful and too dangerous for the American psyche as she truly was. Blessed Marilyn. So Barbie became a safe blonde bombshell, the tragedy removed, the sexuality softened, the archetype sanitized for children. When did Marilyn die? In 63 or 64, I think. The feminine power redirected into fashion careers and dreams. This is exactly the same psychological alchemy that happened with Lily into Barbie. Lily was way too dangerous, sarcastic, and real as a real adult woman. She became Barbie, the softened, cleaner version. And Marilyn became into Barbie follows a very similar pattern. She moved, we'll get into this really, if you're interested, the much deeper aspect of the little Barbie doll. You never had a Barbie. Oh, you had a Cindy. I remember that. Yeah, but you were about to see her. My daughter, yeah, they were different. Yeah, passed down usually from her cousins. And she had the house, the car, and even Ken. I didn't, yeah, that's nice when you had it never occurred to me to have Ken. Because so I don't know if I'm going to carry the wounded male, because Ken, another thing in 1961. Ken came out in 1961, which is very interesting. Huh. Your grandmother threw, you forgive her. Do you blame her? I mean, it's just like, that unfortunately, that energy is around. Hello, Heaney. Love you, Heaney. Thank you so much for being here. Love you so much. Love you so much, girl. Because, as I say, in countries, like, the people, the energy, for many years, I've just felt that the energy of whoever's in control will filter down. You don't have to enforce it, that the real energy will filter down into the school or into the company or into the population or into the church or whatever. So it's really important to have whatever your morals and integrity, and whatever you do, if you're CEO or up at the top or holding stuff or whatever, above all else, unto thine own self be true. We're just so sadly corrupted. I remember hearing a thing way back somewhere in the 90s or something, 90s, and people asked people in Japan if they thought that the government was corrupt. And they all said, yes, of course. But we don't mind because everything runs smoothly. So, there's corruption, yeah, I won't go into that's also they have a very interesting thing, a very poor house for them to live in. There's no the government. Japan's been very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, my mother sewed a lot and she knitted. I mean, like right now, I'm just like seeing all this stuff. Um, but and interesting, I didn't have very many dolls. I had more animals as a child, which was very interesting. And when I had children, I noticed that boys actually played way more with dolls than girls did. I mean, then it was kind of that was in the late 70s, 80s in South Africa that it was, boys wanted a doll. So please give them a doll. Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, I do. Teeny, it's terrible. And I have to, you know what I did? I did to my oldest son. When we moved, I confessed it later in life. The Teenage Ninja Turtles had just started coming out. He was like 9. And I mean, I think they were great because I spoke to him at that time about, what was his name? What were their names? Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo. Who was the other one? There were 4. But I don't know, he was fun. I don't know, I didn't want him to have these fighting dolls. So when we moved out, I told him that they fell off the truck. So I invaded his privacy, but he built castles all over Lego all the way around his room. So I was like really mean. So I don't think I did too nasty. But yeah, I think granted they shouldn't, and I was like I was an interest. My parents didn't very seldom, except when my father went with a toothbrush and brushed my carpet and found so much marijuana. And he said to me, oh, he knew that he, his Hitler Youth training would come in handy one day. Fuck. But first he analyzed it to me. I think you're doing drugs because of your handwriting. It's funny. Ah, he went and cleaned my carpet with a toothbrush. So, yeah. That was his comment. That was all crazy stuff. Oh, no, you see, which I hid from her beneath my clothes in a drawer. Oh, Henny. Yeah, I feel so. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look at it through your grandmother's eyes because she saw the Lily doll, but it, maybe we had a Barbie. I know, and girls just wanted it. I also made a Barbie birthday cake for my daughter. She was also 5, 6, 5. She wanted a clown. Yeah, we had a Barbie birthday cake. Barbie came to the house with her car. She organized a picnic on the lawn in the gardens, which was so beautifully done. I'm sure the girls were so excited. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't know, but that's probably my influence too, that my daughter didn't do the Barbie doll that much. She got into Hello Kitty and puzzles and drawing. Yeah. But yeah, I think to make the Barbie doll cake was absolutely fabulous. It was often an ice cream cake when you just bought a cheap doll and stuck her in this round, and then you cut marshmallows, and if you cut them, they turn into little flowers, and it's pink and white flowers with little silver things, and all the little girls go, wow! I'm trying to, I must think about that a bit harder, how Melissa was with Barbie. She wouldn't have had it young. I know that she wanted trains. She was more into trains and motor cars. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's some hard forgiving there, hey, Hini. We have to go through all of that forgiveness stuff. But by God's grace, we've done a lot of it, most of it. Some just keeps like coming back up, bleh, like a boil. Bleh. But yeah, no, no. But I didn't have all that stuff for Barbie. I had then what I got later was a doll. She was like a schoolgirl doll. She was like a 6, 7-year-old doll from Germany. I know, can you believe? That's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I listen to weird music. Talk about my music history one day. Because we had a lot of stories on like those little ones, and we had German stories, and we had this old radiogram that you could like put lots of records on, and then you click, 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 click. Because my Oma, as I said, she sent lots of stuff. You want ice cream cake? It's amazing, that was like when I first realized that how things went around the world. The kids used to play punch buggy in South Africa. So whenever they saw an old Beetle Volkswagen, and they would play punch buggy 1, punch buggy 2, punch buggy 3, because they were getting rare. And then when I went to the States, the kids were also playing the same game, punch buggy. So I don't know if you played that in Australia, punch buggy 1, punch buggy. Yeah, so kind of played it all over the world with the old Beatles. Okay, understand. Yeah. Don't touch my stuff. I hear you. Don't touch my stuff. I played school a lot. As I said, I had this Gretel doll she came from Germany. And every year my Oma would send clothes, and I came with like a little satchel. She had like a little blue satchel, and I would make her books. I like to play school a lot. Blackboard was my favorite, and I would set up my animal things. And we had a lot of like teddy bear stuff from Germany. And then when I went to Germany, there was this amazing toy shop. I think it's a bit like Hamleys, but even different. It was like my Oma lived in Karlsruhe, and it had many floors, and there was one floor which was just dolls' clothes. It was like heaven. And on the back of all dolls that were made in Germany, there was a number. So you just knew that number, and you told them the number, and then they would bring out whatever clothes you wanted to buy. She had pajamas. She had a dirndl, of course. It's going back quite a while, but she was my best, and my Oma's name was Gretel, so obviously she was my Gretel doll. And Barbie, but my favorite doll. Yeah, so it's interesting that I think children of my age, when the Barbie first came out as well, a lot of parents maybe might not have bought it for her, but my mom worked. So I think that was. I'm thinking now because I cannot imagine Barbie being in South Africa already at that time. I know that the clothing, and it was very small selection. We didn't get Barbie-fied as much as not in those years. I don't know what other children played with. I didn't have very many friends. I was like very sickly, and then I all of a sudden have, I don't know, very few, yeah, play dates. I danced a lot, but I think it's also because my weeks were pretty full with dancing and theatre, going to like elocution and theatre and stuff. It was my privileged childhood. And music, I can remember we didn't have much pop music. As my mother said, when she married my father and she met my father was like big on jazz. Because it was forbidden during Germany, and he played the piano really well by ear. And he had a lot of Glenn Miller and all of those. Elvis and all that didn't really feature in our life. Mum, and then he also knew the opera and the classics because that was kind of his upbringing. His mother went to the opera, etc., etc. And my mother was more into the common cultural music of that time. Beatles and things, but it was even before that. But she said it's like it very quickly changed. Yeah. But South Africa was like weird in those days. I mean, she says that when she wore a sleeveless dress on the street, people would spit at her. They say, sieh's doch, je hoer. Ah, yeah, you know, it's not that long ago. This is the 60s. But yeah, she said then the music tastes changed. She didn't listen to popular contemporary music. My father kind of had his jazz, very much maybe Oscar Peterson and a lot of maybe jazz. And then opera, and my mother went very much into classical music. Oh yeah, and we played the piano. We did like piano lessons. So my afternoons were very full. I can remember a few play dates, but I'd say not that many. My parents had like friends, German friends, mainly German friends. Auntie Ellen was and Uncle Jim. They were great. And my parents had, well, my father had some German friends that were married and they had children. And we would usually go out over the weekend to visit them. It felt like forever that we drove, but it wasn't. Yeah. Was with my cousins. Yeah, no, absolutely, never a sleepover. I did. That was like once when we moved into the house, and I did mention this, that then I was going to go sleep over and go to Sunday school, and my father just blew. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're a Catholic and you don't go to Sunday school. No, you're not going to another religion. But that, as it explained, was hugely part of the war stuff as well for him. He wasn't going to do any of this breakaway stuff. Brainwashing. Yeah. Yeah, interesting, hey. As I said, I didn't have. I know and I must actually, I did write it down in a song. I'm gonna like really, I only have one brain cell and it's really busy. Oh, then in my music, then I had, yeah, but then that was when I was 10, and I had this crazy aunt next door. Our family, my mother left my father. It was like we had hiding trees with binoculars. I were like wild, come and go. I was like 10. I really didn't want them to divorce. It was horrible. But anyway. And then I started to go a little off the rails. We had the flea market and incense, and my mother's sister, my aunt, I would spend the night over there. She was an actress, and she would cook like once a week, like pork, chicken, beef, lamb, the whole toot. She was let's say, quite a big actress in South Africa. And I remember her waking. I was 10. Stupid. I don't know why I'd spent the night there. And she woke me up. Hey, I thought you called me Pinky. Hey, Pinky. Kind of wake up. I was sleeping in this big double bed next to her. She always had false eyelashes on. And she said, "Do you want to smoke some grass?" Huh? What? She was rolled to sleep. She used to keep her dope in this ancient old till. She was very influential as an icon. My mother had 7 interesting siblings. Glenn Miller and jazz, yeah. My mother loved Doris Day. No, we didn't. I don't know what my mother did. Because I didn't have Elvis until, and then I would only saw him through other people. Yeah, you went to Catholic school. Yeah, absolutely forbidden for us. We don't go to Sunday school. But strangely enough, and when I was like 10 when they moved to the house, and there I did spend the night, and I was Jewish friends. I never had a problem with Jewish people, which was really weird. No, I had like really amazing Jewish friends. And there I spent the night, and I was invited for Pesach. I mean, it's like a big thing, you know, especially like German, German guys. But we never really spoke about that. My father had a lot of like Jewish friends, and yeah, but I'm not going to go into how a Jewish person helped him, didn't just like. He still said, why? Anyway, we're talking about plastic Barbie, so I do the plastic stuff. Dizzy Perry Como. Oh, awesome. Aww. Amazing. Yeah, we didn't get any of these people. I think my father listened to Frank Sinatra. And as I got older, then it was like to listen. Because we also remember, oh, yeah, no, of course, we were South Africa. So much was banned. Everything was banned. We didn't have anything. You know, Rasta music, banned until 1994. I didn't know that. It was totally banned. No reggae. But we had LM radio where you could tune. Oh God! No, but I was little. I listened to the Osmonds, Donny Osmond, and then the Jackson Five. You know, they were just starting. But we had to tune in to Radio Lorin, LM radio. My mother had this like crazy, and it had this interesting smell. It was an old valve radio. You could like get anywhere in the world with it. But we would tune into LM radio on a Friday to listen to the music because it came from Lorenzo Marx, which wasn't South African, it was Portuguese. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, poor Heaney. They can go so weird, eh? Actually, I don't remember, because I remember once finding all of my mother's old records at the top of the wardrobe, but I honestly can't remember what they were. But I remember sunglasses, you remember, and I would like act to them. I played a lot of time alone. No wonder I'm a little weird. You know, I was, because my sister went to boarding school. I think she went to a convent, St. Ursula convent, because she beat me up so much. Like, really beat me up. I can remember counting 56 bruises. But I always got into trouble because every now and again I'd like scratch her. Oh, says my sister, look at her. And then I'd cut my nails short and I would get into trouble. But yeah, my sister was very big. So we didn't have a problem with anybody, you know. We went to Hindu weddings. My father paid people incorrectly. But yeah, I'm just because my parents were they worked. They really worked. I mean, my mother for a long time worked half day, but from very young. So just interesting. So it's like so interesting, the games that we played. I mean, I've said that so often, is remember what you played as a child. It's a big clue and huge in what you do today. And all those things, especially before the age of 5, well, up to 7, are just, let's just be kind to ourselves, are just so influential of what we do. And I know I never went into any marketing stuff. And even as a later teenager, I mean, I remember being introduced to Jimi Hendrix when I was just before he died, actually. So I was quite old. How old was I? I don't know, 12, 13. And 2. Just trying to think. But then I smoked dope and I looked a lot older than I was. So I was kind of listening to that music. And then when I got married, I didn't listen because I don't know why. I didn't listen too much. I listened to stories on the radio. We didn't have television. So we listened to, there were a lot of stories on the radio. And then classical music, would be dragged to classical concerts. I mean, our life was very full. I won't say the privileged is that I got like that kind of education and influence in my life. That's what I call my privileged life. I'll think about it a bit more, what I did. But I say we danced almost every afternoon. We were busy, and then we had piano lessons, so there wasn't much time for friend dates. I can remember going to a Spanish girls. They were Spanish, and they had the most divine paella, and it was like a big thing. How are you going to get home? Da 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 da. And then they said, "No, I must walk home alone." I was just like, "What fucking mad?" Oh, and we did swimming, so it was very busy. And I did walk home. I was terrified. Must have been in about grade 2 or grade 3. And then we also, yeah, we had this kind of nanny culture. You know, all the nannies would come and fetch us. I went with an all-girls school, and all the nannies would come and wait for us and fetch us. Because Barbie was fabulous, you know, women were working, many women were working, especially the cosmopolitan ones, the ones that had come from Europe. And as I said, there was such a huge influx in the 50s into South Africa from Italians everywhere, Spanish War, you know, war-torn Germany, Swiss, Austrian, and it was wonderful. They really made good business. Sadly, often not what they were taught to do, but they started, you know, with Granny's recipes, and obviously so many Jews that literally walked, you know. So, but the woman worked. The woman and the grannies worked. So Barbie dolls were great for us. And we didn't, as I say, we didn't have television until 1975, which is when I was 15, 1976, and then only for like an hour or so. So very blessed that we didn't have that huge influence of television. And then when I got married, my musical stuff, my husband was influenced by he was 7 years older than me, and he was influenced by his brother, who was 7 years older than him. So, like Dixie Chicken and, you know, that whole, the Grateful Dead, obviously all the Hendrix stuff, guitar stuff. He was a brilliant guitarist, and he also made guitars. So, I can't remember. I'm not meant to talk about it now, but I did. So I would just listen. I would just gobble up this music and the history of these people. Like also a little off the wall stuff. So very, very strong musical influence, like education that I had. But I never listened to popular music. I didn't like the music that was pop at the time. So I'm kind of out of what everybody grew. 80s, not at all. I would listen to my own music, or there was a very interesting program late at night where he just played, like, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan and all of that stuff. Yeah, that's what I, yeah. Anything that was guitar oriented, also not like pop music. Obviously, the Beatles were there and old Stones, but Leonie, that was my aunt. That was the Stones and David Bowie. Yeah, loved that, and Jesus Christ Superstar. So she was very influential in music as well. But yeah, you must remember we had a lot of like not many people did much with South Africa with us. Yeah. So let's just get through. I have to go to the bathroom. We've got here. Hello. Then we had Barbie and Ken outfits. Obviously, I didn't have a Ken. It never occurred to me to even ask for a Ken. And I don't know when Ken, I'll have to look at that when Ken came into South Africa. Because how strongly, because as I said to her, yeah, children intuitively. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. I've drunk a lot of tea and water. Oh. Oh, yeah. Thank you for being so patient. You're understanding. Hello, dog. It's deeply appreciated. Yeah, no, then also I was very sickly as a child. I took convulsions. I got very high temperatures and like serious pneumonia. So I spent a lot of time in bed. So paper dolls. So we didn't have television. Anyway, let's get back to Barbie doll, La Barbie. And it's just the archetype, yeah. Because then I would show these kids. So this is Barbie, the old Barbie. No, let's explain because obviously most little girls play with Barbie all over the world now. And who's this picture of Marilyn? Or I tell them this is Marilyn, and then I pick up my Barbie and say it's Marilyn. So the kids would all call my Barbie doll Marilyn because obviously she didn't look like Barbie doll. And the modern day Barbie. Because she had the hair, the face, the glamour, the vulnerability, the bright red lips, the adult woman energy, the subtle sexuality, and this whole movie star aura. But yeah, as I said, I mean, when I was looking at the stuff, it was like, good God. Like from such a young age that Barbie always sold sexuality to children. Though Mattel never said it that way, the design language is unmistakable. The breasts, the narrow waist, the legs elongated far beyond human proportion. The way that she looked like Marilyn, the makeup, the high heels, the adult hair, and those flirtatious eyes. I mean, she was the sex bombshell, right, yeah? Or the brunette, you know, the Sophia Loren, you know, that whole figure. Children internalized archetypes long before they understand sex. What they interpret is power, freedom, glamour, being grown up, being seen, being adored, being influential, and being creative. Sex is encoded as an adult agency, not literal sexuality. This is why early Barbie was so incredibly powerful. She was the first time girlhood visually touched womanhood. And it must have been like quite a big thing in the States when Barbie arrived. I don't think so, yeah. Well, I mean, have you seen Ken? I mean, I never got Ken, and I never got Ken for my daughter. What did she? I mean, they played a lot, but she also did a lot of extramurals, like dancing and stuff. And most play dates or sleepovers, the few that she did have, I would have to go and fetch her in the middle of the night anyway. So, I mean, we did try. Because, you know, you often do things that your parents didn't do. So, this Barbie, she changed. She didn't look, this is like, she changed in 1966. She had that American bomb, that Marilyn. I mean, guys, it's Marilyn. You can't tell me anything else that's not Marilyn. So this, I don't even know this Barbie. She came in 1966. I think like a precursor. Maybe people complained about her with those sultry Marilyn eyes. I did have Skipper. Skipper was cool. Skipper was the first doll with bendable legs, which obviously I bent. They weren't proper, they weren't nice. They bent the other way. And then I had another one. She was like another teenager with dark hair later on. But Skipper was flat-chested, and she came in a tennis outfit. She came in a white costume, but I know I had a tennis outfit for her. But I did bend her legs the wrong way around. This was my most influential doll. And it was so interesting that ChatGPT told me when I asked if I could have a picture of her, and I said, is this not one of perhaps Walt Disney's first merchandising things? And she blocked me. She blocked me. She said it goes against their policy. But I did find, and she is delicious delight for Mary Poppins, who was way more influential in my life. I loved that handbag, and I loved the movie. My sister did The Hills Are Alive, and I remember I got her after going to the dentist one day. I forgot how traumatic it must have been at the dentist to have got. We both got one. I don't know what my sister got, but she was my best doll. But she wasn't my doll. I liked the clothes because I dressed Barbie up in her clothes, and it was Marilyn Monroe. So I mean, this whole, like, as she says, my childhood experience is textbook Barbie as empowerment, not as sex symbol. She was in my life beautifully empowered me. Oh, Grace, you and I. Look, do you see? I'm not going to take it off. I'm keeping this on now. So I don't know. I don't know how you're feeling. Basically, too, suffered from chronic bronchitis. I had pneumonia. Every 2 weeks, I was, yeah, hectic. Yeah, by the age of 13, yeah, I had my last convulsion when I was 9, a big serious one. Aren't we amazing, Heaney? And Heaney's just like, I love Heaney. Don't I love her so much? She's Miss Joy. And a few other things. She's our good Jewish guardian, our Jewish one. Ah, I love you, Heaney. And Grace, you know I love you so much. Wow. What? You've okay. Oh yeah, you come from one of those mixed marriages. Okay, but it gets gone down through the matriarchal line. Because I mean, a lot of Jewish people were oivaying when their parents. So that was quite a big thing. That your yeah, that's extremely interesting. You've got to tell us that story someday. I mean, a Roman Catholic priest. We had a Roman Catholic priest and a nun in Johannesburg. Well, they moved to Oudtshoorn Dam, and they kind of fell in love and got married, and that was like everybody went to Oudtshoorn Dam to try and see if they could get a glimpse of this couple. That had fallen short. Because I know that Michelle, her father and my father, she was my sister-in-law, or I called her then my sister outlaw. She was like my earth mother, 10 years older than me, almost exactly. And I'm very, very grateful to her because, I mean, my childhood was weird, so I had, like, it was a little bit of good Jewish normalcy. But Uncle Eli, her father, we didn't know each other then. He was also in plastics. And my father was in plastics. And I remember going to Uncle Ellie's, the office, and he was Uncle Ellie. And he would come to the office. Everybody came to my parents' office to eat and drink and tea and commiserate and oive. And they had this daughter that had met this what do they call it? A goy, not a shiksa. Is it a goy? Anyway, he wasn't Jewish, so they'd actually sent her off to Israel. That's what they did. Many parents sent their children that were involved with other religious denominations. They sent them to Israel for education, to go and live in a kibbutz for a while. It's like the Jewish version of getting to a nunnery. But apparently there are no more kibbutzes anymore to come and live and work. Anyway. Going to use as a priest. Wow. Okay. And that is such a sweet story. Yeah. No. Heaney, we're carrying so much, and it's so brave of us to carry. And it was just, and I was like, embrace the dark side that I'm carrying, the grief that I'm carrying. And it's right, it's fine. That some of us, not everybody, but some of us just carry that. So you carry, but you so like, I mean, you're just such an inspiration for me. Thank you. Yeah. I'm there to check out this best for a play. Okay. Oh, it's so sweet. Oh. Oh, it was one of those love and lust at first sight. I absolutely love it. I mean, how beautiful. Oh, what a precious story. I know you've mentioned bits and pieces of your childhood. And where was he from? Was he also Italian? Because he came to the United States. So I don't know where he was from. I think, was he Italian? Am I wrong or am I right? And you're here in this space. You're allowed to be negative if you want to. It's not negativity. My parents got married after, my mother had a dream about my father, and they got married after 3 months, which was also like, what? Mm. We're the, yes, Grace. Yeah. They don't make them, yeah. We're the very interesting group. Seriously, oh God, I'm gonna cry. There's so much going on. That we're holding, and it's beautiful. Don't complain. Um, yeah, yeah. Wow. I should. Oh, okay. Let's back to Barbie. So for me, she was takes like I built her furniture out of Lego. Exactly. So my mother knitted clothes for her, and I saw Barbie as a career woman, which I mean, in a very beautiful way, is exactly what Ruth Handler had intended. And she said Barbie always represented the fact that a woman has choices. Um, and I think sometimes people put stuff on things that shouldn't be there. I was living the archetype in a pure empowerment form, not as vanity, but as creative agency. And this part is gorgeous. And I said my mother absolutely loved to knit these little things, but she made children's clothes forever. And yeah, the quality of Barbie fashion is legend, absolutely. They're incredible. I mean, later on when I studied, and many of us went into fashion design because of Barbie, yeah. Because we also dressed her up, whether with paper or whatever, you know. But those days, my golly, they were lined, they were these tiny, weeny little zips. They had darts. I mean, it was absolutely extraordinary. I don't know what little midgets sewed those teeny, weeny things. And then obviously I've kind of forgot about Barbie. Apparently, all the toys, most of the toys were dumped in the outside room when my parents moved, and obviously my father, yeah, I know he just chucked the lot out when my mother left for the third time. They got married to each other 3 times. It was a little crazy family, but she continued to work with him because she was trustworthy. Um, where was I? Oh, and I know that I kind of dipped back into Barbie again in the 80s when I was studying fashion design. And all those fashion designed by the top names like Oscar de la Renta, etc., etc. They were like big things, but I was not a big Barbie. I mean, I love my Barbie doll as such, yeah. Hems, couture, they were absolutely, and beautiful fabrics. Yeah, and yeah, they were actually early styling sets that mimicked Paris and Hollywood fashion. Those outfits were miniature couture. Collectors, they, if you have, well, I mean, I just briefly looked at the price. They unbelievable. If you have ones in boxes, I know that I had one and I gave it to my daughter. I didn't think about the value of it. And they're for hundreds of dollars. Oscar de la Renta, yeah, they all, I can't remember that. So I don't want to get too into it. It's just get through the real power of it. And I just know that all the designers, and they were sold for a lot of money. And interesting that haute couture for a hand-sized divine feminine icon. Oh, we'll get into Ken just now. And boys love, as I said, boys love dressing dolls way more than girls. And many boys played with Barbie later on, which led them into fashion design. Boys are often blocked from exploring color, fashion, beauty, fabrics, and stylings in this whole stuff. Dolls give boys the ability to touch feminine energy, creativity, aesthetics with zero shame. And many gay men, designers, stylists, and artists trace their creativity directly to playing with Barbie. For boys, Barbie is a safe feminine figure, a canvas, a muse, a work builder, a visual playground. Girls tend to project identity onto Barbie. Boys tend to project creativity into Barbie. That's why boys often dress dolls with more flair. They are, and they do. It's out there. They are expressing a forbidden part of themselves. So the artistry becomes intense, colorful, and free. Gay men love to dress women. The South African Barbie experience is very historically important because there's not much tracked about that, because there were fewer dolls on the market, higher value placed on craft, and mothers often made clothes. Children built furniture because we didn't get all that stuff until later. Barbie became a storybook of aspirational womanhood outside of Western norms. Um, okay, so as I said, I just said to you that I had to, and as I said, with my kids when they were growing up, the boys played more with dolls. I mean, okay, figurines or Playmobil, whatever, but much more than my daughter did. Okay, great, Italian and Hungarian. Okay, he was related. My parents, it was the okay, let me see, school. Wow. So interesting. Hey, so your father came from Italy. Um, when I was in New York, I went to this amazing, I went to Little Italy. It's just absolutely fabulous. So interesting we are. This Röhrenlöffel of cultures. So we're holding that, as well as the place where we are. And all sorts of things. That's I say Barbie's because of my name. It's just I dig into stuff. Like I dug into Hello Kitty. It's I just now read funny things. So let's have a look at what Ken looks like. Yep, let's skip G.I. Joe for now. Ken is scary. Ken is serious. Let's start with Naked Ken. I mean, how scary is this guy? And he came out in 1961, and I just thought, oh God, I don't know if I need another thing in 1961, my birth year, that Ken came out. I really thought he came out much later. I mean, I just know that there were all those jokes, Ken in the box and Ken out the closet and the car, the house, and those bad jokes. Barbie, I'm not a good joke teller. So I didn't go too much into Ken. But obviously, as you saw, you got Ken and Barbie outfits. I don't know if I ever wanted a Ken doll. But he's kind of scary. He was so demasculated. Eh? Those teeny weeny skinny legs. It was obviously the earliest Ken, you know. He didn't have blue eyes. That would have been too risque to give him that blonde hair and blue eyes. Poor old Ken. Oi, 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 oi. But the programming is huge. I mean, this is what's like so serious. Let's take this. I don't like to keep Ken up for you to look at. Let's okay, so I played G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe came out. Well, they always wanted G.I. Joe. They played the things, Ian and Eric, and I remember they painted soldiers. You know, we did stuff because we didn't have television. And we played, like a lot of you early people, played outside. So G.I. Joe also came up with dress up, and he came with all this combat gear. So the action soldier. So how he was portrayed. Oh, look. Oh, no. Elon Musk has been there. Oh, my goodness gracious. So he came, these are his clothes. America's movable fighting man. So he programmed the kids in 1964 because he came with a dress jacket, dress pants, dress scarf, armband, and he was by Hasbro. Helmet, I mean, they also needed to make money. Boots, patrol belt, holster, 45 pistol, police club, and field radio. I mean, come on, guys, you're programming your poor kids from like when? Because Eric was my age. Ian was older. And, you know, let's not forget the guns that you're giving your little kids. Crazy stuff. I find it. Well, I just know that they did a whole lot of hoodoo stuff with Barbie dolls, which I stopped because that was, I mean, in South Africa. So let's just dip down. We keep Mary Poppins up there. She's safe. It's a perfect microcosm of how the collectives are. Well, we've got really strong girls here, so let's go with we'll stop for a little bit and beeps. Oh, golly, let's not go there right now. I have a beautiful invocation. I'll finish with it. Oh, so there's a lot, and I'm trying to get through this because I don't want to stick on this too long. So, I mean, for us, it was actually great because we could like play together. You know, I didn't like too many boys' games, and living in flats was complicated. So we were this happy little trio, me with my Barbie doll and the boys with G.I. Joe. My sister didn't play. She just hung around the adults. Always. And listened to if she was weird. Anyway, I need now put it how weird she is. And there's literally the embodiment of masculine, feminine archetypes America was exporting to the world. These archetypes. So G.I. Joe is this flipping archetype. Because I don't remember Ken, but G.I. Joe was. But in South Africa, we had a lot of like control over our movie censorship, and they kept all the violence in and cut out all the sex. Whereas other countries kept the kissy scenes and stuff, but they took out the violence. So that was how we were programmed with movies. It's literally in bod. Okay, Barbie is the glamour, aspiration, feminine appearance, charm, going off to work, and G.I. Joe is the military aggression, bravery, action, stoicism. This pairing was not accidental. Okay, it was designed for me, but Mattel and Hasbro were shaping gender roles, fantasy templates, future identities, and male versus female destinies. In the Rudolph stuff, that's why Hello Kitty, you can think about that. They do dolls, but they don't really have features. Well, I mean, but I've seen this, you know. But so this is, I know, so you've got to write the naked. He's scary, eh? Because I mean, I know that, and so it's like whatever games you were playing, and so, but it's scary because we've been so programmed. This is how, so it's, you know, when we know this, especially for I suppose between Grace and I, we'll do the divine masculine because I want to cry. He's really sad, you know, and but I can't do it right now. I tried, I can't do it right now. So that was like, we'll come back to that one time, my Nigerian in South Africa. Long story, but I made my son take me to his drug dealer. He's not going to fuck with me. So yeah, because going to like rehab is like going to university. So, and yeah, he stopped. So this guy gets in the car, this big white grin. This is the woman fucking driving the car. I said, yeah. And so who are you? I'm Ken. Oh, you're really? And I'm Barbie. Laugh, laugh, laugh. I turn around to him and I cry. So I said to him, where are you from? It's Nigeria. So you're a real nigger then, hey? Yes, ma. I turn around to him with my biggest big girl panty look, grab him by the scruff of his neck. I've got guts. I've got balls that don't ever. And I said, you look after this boy. If anything happens to him, I'll fucking go kill you. As he said to me, I'm not old school. And we actually bought houses together. I'm not old school. I'm like university, old university. Never mind old school. Mama's university. To our G.I. Joes out the sixth floor window in Brooklyn when we moved. Yeah, absolutely. We would set them. This is exactly what the boys did, and then throw him out of the window onto the lawn. This is what Adam and Saul would do with those little toy soldiers. They would put parachutes on them and, you know, those little baby firecrackers. I mean, boys. But you know what? And we'll get into this because it's actually the other way around, and someone who weep. It's the women who are supposed to be are the strong ones, and the men who are more gentle. Because over my time, it's like a man when he breaks his heart is like he's messed. And the boys from South Africa, I mean, they were so messed up from the war that they had to go to the army. So it was a very nasty war that they fought there, you know, on the border, the territories, and they were against the Chinese and Russian. What are those called? AK-47. Armor is obviously not meant to talk about too much of this right now. So Lorenzo Marx, Rhodesia, the border, Zimbabwe, Angola. Yeah. So I know some, like, I think it was Fatima, family from Angola, and all they went to fight there. Such a useless fucking thing. But the Frelimo, the terrorists, who called them, they weren't. You know, but they use a lot of shock tactics. So yeah, was it not a nice time? But they had to go to the war. Was had to be the conscription. But we're over this. This is now we're creating a new world. So this is why I'm to just unpack this very quickly. Wee. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm so busy, but it's fine. Okay, so and it's like whatever the games you play. It's that huge clue. That's my Rudolf Steiner stuff, teaching that children know when they know exactly what they want to be, and if you know what you wanted to be at 18 and a half, which is when the moon comes into the same place it was when you were born, you will have this kind of flash round about that time. I had my flash that I wanted to be a truck driver in America and drive across with my technique and paint it, of course. It was my little vision, my 18-year-old flash vision, which in a way I kind of did. So they're just big clues that you can work with. You know, the universe is always giving us clues. So, I mean, I believe with children is obviously to know, but there's more to guide them than to push onto them, you know, because they know what they need. I had that with my son, my oldest son, Jeremy. I mean, he found that Melissa had a lot of dress-up stuff from the other side of of the family. Gwen made tons and tons of sewing stuff for Tina. So she had bumblebees and devils, and she had a tutu. And Jeremy found the tutu. Jeremy was 3 or 4, and Jeremy put this little pink satin. He loved the satin feel of it, and he didn't take it off. He didn't want. It was along with these little pip-pops. His teeth were like squares, and he had these yellow pip-pops which literally didn't take off at all. And you know, I'm one of that. He don't bathed in them, he slept in them, his pip-pops, and he he wore this tutu because he loved the soft feeling, you know. And pink is pretty, and I just remember thinking, oh God, what's happening? And it was very clear in my head, just because there was no father influence. Just leave it. He knows how to be a boy. On the other side, he went off to actually become world champion in boxing and MMA and stuff like that. Kind of world famous, so he didn't know how to be a boy. He just ran away when he turned 21 because I did kind of threaten. I was going to get you that picture of one of those photograph cakes with Jeremy in a tutu with glitter from this to this. And then the kids, Melissa and this other little boy, because we stayed in the apartment with a garden, and then they would dress him, paint his face. So you just hang tight and say, okay, this will wash out whichever way it washes out. You know, we put on those influences onto them. So we're moving, but like it's taken it's a rush job right now. Because you know, it was just yesterday that we were being influenced by G.I. Joe and Barbie, and how big it became all over, all over. So Mattel and Hasbro, because obviously this was a whole money thing for them. Okay, they were shaping gender roles, fantasy templates, future identities, male versus female destinies. Oh, the Rudolf Steiner doll, because we all have to make a doll if you become a teacher, and you mold you mold the face, but there's just like the vaguest like thing of an eye of eyes. The face is so neutral, and there's just like a vague tint of dye on the mouth. So the mouth, it can be happy or sad. The child must decide what it wants to be. They're very, you must Google them, or maybe I will for you. They're very like pernickety about the doll. And he was very, very strong about that. Steiner was also like very strong about not dressing up animals in clothes. I don't know why. To anthropomorph them. I don't know why. He didn't like that. I didn't have a problem with that because teddies get cold. Okay. She says, yeah, okay, but yeah, I was already breaking the programming because you were playing with the boys, which was yet another because worlds intersect, yeah, because girls, they didn't. When I was at school, we walked, the boys had their own playground, and the girls had, when I went to a co-ed school, that was like only when I was 9, 10. So that was the 70s. And we had to have a long ruler that was 26 inches, I think, is a long ruler, or 30 in, and that was the minimum space that we have to have between a girl and a boy. Which is, I think it's a good thing, not the distancing, but who knows. Homeschooling. But if we don't always, it's okay. All right, so I was good, and playing with the boys, because usually the boys didn't, but yeah, Mum went to visit Auntie Ellen, and if the adults went out, then I went to take my Barbies with. And then when they came to visit, they brought their GI Joes. So we played dolls. Later on, we played other things. But in the beginning, we played dolls. My early experience reveals a porous boundary, an intuitive bridging of masculine and feminine, a refusal to stay in the assigned role. Absolutely. Anyway, the G.I. Joe plus Barbie is a union of masculine and feminine archetypes. The G.I. Joe was not just a toy soldier. Okay, we're going to do with a warrior archetype given to little boys during the Cold War. He was, remember, the wall went up in 61, and then it was, I think, psychic control. So he was a protector, he was fighter, he was survivor. Remember, there was also the Vietnam War. Okay, so we're programming our little kids, and of course you had your super soldier. I'm gonna cry, guys. This is really sad. So programmed all your little boys with G.I. Joe, and if it wasn't G.I. Joe, it was Ken. So you made him into, and who taught the women in the old cultures? The boys, up until the teenagers, they were, and it's all connected to fucking Barbie. The Germans again. Told you, the Germans are behind all this shit. Shame. I really want to cry. But you know, I'm doing this just for myself, obviously, and for hugely for lots of people, and it will go out there. I know it's going out there, so that we can heal and that you can have a little more compassion. And when I see tenderness in guys, you know, it's like there's nothing more. They are so tender. It's like, because we program that boys, you know, in this whole thing of boys mustn't cry, blah 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 blah. Anyway. And yeah, the early days, as I said, was like in the of theory author those times. The women trained, looked after the kids until they were 10, 11, 12, and then they went to be schooled with the boys. Even like Alexander the Great, they were looked after by the women. They taught them to fight. I taught my kids, yes, this when I can sword fight. I would play all those like crazy little games. The kids had to make most of this stuff out of wood for themselves and leave their imagination, you know. But yeah, the Waldorf school, I was very happy. I put them in. I was just equally as happy that I took them out. Because it's not anyway, it's what people do to stuff as well. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you played with your Barbie doll. No? Barbie was the Venus archetype, streamlined. She was beauty, she was charm, she was feminine power, she was glamour, she was social agency, she was creative imagination. And when I played with both, I was acting out one of the most ancient esoteric templates. Good old Shiva and Shakti, the sacred union. The anima and the animus, the warrior and the goddess, even at the age of 4. And they've done tests like with babies, even like little girl babies in a cot. If a good-looking man walks into the room, they start flirting, and they're still in the cot. You know, the best-looking birds with the best plumage get the food first. So there's something like very real in that, yeah, but also very tragic in that as well. So, because we need to like develop not just the sanctuary, but the inner education of our children, our grandchildren, the people, and if not just in prayer, that it goes out there into the universe. But we all got our thing that we're carrying. So if it resonates, don't go beating your kids over with the head with their Barbie dolls, because she has her own. I mean, now we've got Barbie with broken legs, and I know there was just recently a huge big thing because they wanted to make a Barbie Frida Kahlo, and I don't know what happened. I know they didn't want it, so I don't know if they did. I mean, yeah. So children naturally, and this at age 5, you're playing all the games you want. I did. I was playing dead, like an Egyptian. So I played weird stuff. No wonder I didn't play with other kids. And I used to paint my face. My parents, I think the name they made, Pfingst Ox. I used to use my paint and paint this incredible face. And dance. And dance Giselle going mad around in circles. Oh, I love just so this was the music I listened to. Okay. So programming, because I said, oh my God, I could win. Also, Heaney, absolutely. I was in horror. Truck driving is a wonderful profession to aspire to. Yeah, and Heaney should know. Thank you, my love. Oh, really? In the school bus industry? Oh, fantastic. Oh, 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 what a bit. That's absolutely a treasure. I can't believe when I was first in Germany, there was this little old man. We were gardening partners, and he was little, like a little gnome, even little. And he'd been a children's a driver, a bus driver for children. But he'd run marathon. I'll talk about him another day. I spoke about him yesterday to somebody, or today. How influential he was and taught me so much about Germany. Yeah. Yeah, because we can't, and you know what they found? Like, this is like I'm going back before, like the 80s or something. I heard this. No, it was obviously later. I mean, when I watched like Princess Dia's wedding, I mean, she was just like, oh God, I was like in love. But they've got to like islands, and they have like they don't know Princess Di, but like somewhere along the line, a mannequin has washed up on the beach, and they have her sitting there in the sun like Diana, and they call her Diana. Where do they know this stuff from? These are like tribal people. It's like their goddess Diana, the Queen of Hearts. It's like so interesting. I mean, it's getting more interesting by the minute, guys. We are just like remembering. People are just like having spontaneous memories and spontaneous. I was going to say orgasms. Where's that guy? What's his name? Your truck partner, Peter. What's his name? Scotty. No, spontaneous Kundalini awakenings, and going to happen more and more and more and more and more this year. Still lots to this year. But yeah, the sad programming. Yeah, so here's what the corporation, and they did know, there was all this German stuff. They had all these German people to help them. For girls, it was femininity, beauty, which equals beauty and fashion. Womanhood equals glamour. Career equals optional but glamorous. Sexuality implied through body shape. Romance equals default. Domestic life background storyline. For boys, masculinity equals violence and bravery. Emotions equal weakness. Heroism equals military action. Identity equals the warrior. Connection only through combat. And vulnerability is forbidden. The pairing of Barbie and G.I. Joe forms the perfectly heteronormal heteronormative Cold War script. But children Some like, and there are always like be exceptions, or who didn't have Barbie and that sensitive, intuitive, imaginative, never fully swallowed this code. The esoteric meaning of Barbie, because, and it's just because she's 20th century plastic avatar of the Venus Ishtar Aphrodite lineage. I think I'll get into that just now because, like, black people in South Africa, they're like horrified about that we play with this Barbie doll. I mean, they've like been like also swept into it. But for them, it's a voodoo doll. You don't do this like mad, and they do stuff with the Barbie doll. Millions and trillions of Barbie dolls. You don't know what I went through in South Africa or what they do, and it's like all over, guys. Barbie is the 20th century plastic avatar of the Venus Ishtar Aphrodite lineage. I was very privileged to see the most amazing. I wonder if I can find those photos. Might be on my old Facebook stuff. A voodoo exhibition in Bremen. I went with my daughter. We cried. It was so beautiful. We don't know what voodoo really is. And so it's not that dark stuff. With everything, there's light and dark. It was so beautiful. And the mother and the goddess and the mermaids. Oh, it absolutely beautiful. Anyway. But yeah, we're talking dolls and the replicas of humans. Yeah, they were so sad. They actually made this whole army. It's the oh, God, I'm gonna cry. Of black life-size dolls to actually try to fight the white invaders, the colonialism. But it's like dolls against weapons. Yeah, I've got a lot in my life. I've got a lot. As one wise black man said to me in South Africa, Mama, you know why you got blind? He says, your eyes, they've seen too many wonderful things. Okay, Barbie is the 20th century plastic avatar of Venus, Ishtar, Aphrodite, whoever you want her to be. So the Venusian glamour code, her hair, her face, her beauty, her adornment, her creativity, her charm. The only thing I did do to my Barbie was that I gave her nipples. You know, you had those little plastic pins. So, I mean, because, she needed nipples. Mothers had nipples. The Ishtar independent code. She chooses her clothes, her work, her world, her role. The Aphrodite magnetism. She is designed to attract attention, desire, aspiration, and projection. The Shakti, creative agency. She transforms through play, clothing, career, narrative. The American dream goddess, freedom, career, mobility, self-invention. And of course, the plastic priestess. Now, plastic was the material, remember when she was made at that time as well, is the material of transmutation. It's the modern alchemical substance, form without decay, shape without limits. Barbie, the immortal feminine form, is a post-war terrified of mortality. Okay, she is the woman who doesn't age, the woman who doesn't bleed, the woman who doesn't die, the woman who doesn't age, grow old, the woman who survives every story. She is literally the first digital age goddess before digital existed, the avatar. Barbie is the synthetic Venus, the modern incarnation of the eternal feminine archetype. She is the safe version of the divine feminine for a traumatized Western psyche. Why children recognize Marilyn? Because Marilyn is the broken Venus, the real version. Barbie is the immortal Venus, the resembled version. I would just be so interested to see. I mean, like Heaney and Grace and some of those that didn't really play with Barbies as per se. If those are in the majority of being strong woman leaders at the moment. That's an interesting little thought. I think I might be right. But anyway, just like maybe just ask people out of the blue, did you play with Barbie when you were younger? What was your experience of Barbie? It'll tell you the kind of, that's rude of me, but it will tell you the kind of person they are today. So maybe, I mean, Heaney, you can be, not just forgive your granny, but to be very thankful maybe that Barbie was dumped, because you would have been a very different girl having played with Barbie. Oy, 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 oy. So Barbie is the immortal Venus, the reassembled version, because Marilyn is the broken Venus, the real version, the tragic. And I've done such a deep study. I think I could almost have the world record for the amount of photos that I had of Marilyn. I kept looking for one because somebody, my dentist here, told me, he was not a dentist, he was a dental technician. He was also obsessed with Marilyn. And he said, if you can find a picture of Marilyn with her real teeth, you will be a millionaire. They don't exist. So the hunt, the hunt is on. She had caps and she used to walk around with her glue because she had very, very small teeth. I've told you, I know a lot of really weird, if you're still there, extremely weird and wonderful information. Is anybody still there listening to Barbie? Barbie talk about Barbie. Let me know if you're there. So why boys love dressing dolls, or is this too much? Can I also go for a break? Why boys love dressing dolls? Because boys are starved of permission to touch the feminine within themselves. I used to love my mother's underwear drawer. She had some beautiful silk underwear. It was also the smell. She always had soap with her stuff, but it was the feel. I used to call that soft, that blankie feel. It was called blankie. And all children touch, we all like that. I was reading something about that touch, what it actually does to us. It's amazing. When a boy dresses Barbie, he is touching creativity, touching beauty, touching sensuality, touching color, touching softness, touching care, touching detail, touching imagination, and touching feminine archetypal power. G.I. Joe gives him violence, Barbie gives him soul. And boys crave soul, especially sensitive ones. This is why so many visionary men, designers, artists, stylists had their first mystical creative awakening through Barbie. So, yeah, that was just so interesting what she did say to me, which was my experience, that I was a bridge, a portal. So I was always a bridge, a portal, a boundary crosser. I did this like a couple of weeks ago, so it's not like I prepared it for now. A deprogrammer, a child who broke roles, a feminine guide playing in masculine worlds, a masculine guide weaving into feminine symbols. I used to be called Queen of the Fairies. I was queen of the gay community. Even some called me a fag hag. Even in your earliest games, you were exercising the power that I still carry. So it was just nice to hear. Healing the split between masculine and feminine consciousness. This is exactly the same medicine you bring to your spiritual work now. Barbie plus G.I. Joe was seed, and I grew into the tree. Blah, 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 blah. So I've made I've made a deep study of Marilyn. So it's just the questions I ask, and Andy Warhol, who I don't have slightly the booze, like lived on cocaine. The anatomy of Barbie. Is anybody still here? Because I can come back just now. Oops. Because I don't see many people here. I will continue if anybody wants. Otherwise, I can also do a break, and we can maybe continue some of this heavy stuff tomorrow. So, is anybody out there? Oops. So for now, then, I'm going to close off and we will continue this tomorrow. Maybe it's a bit heavy and get into the esoteric archetypal mapping of Barbie as the 20th century Venus and the effect that she has had on women all over the world. Whether or not you kind of play with Barbie, because it's that whole Barbie skinny model, heroine chic look. So I love us all. And thank you very much for being here. And yep, we will continue this incredible rise and all our incredible energy tomorrow. So just be firm, be strong, be grounded. May the angels bless us all and keep us divinely sacred and safe within their care. I love, 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 love you all and have the most amazing afternoon. Bless you, girls. Mwah.